The person who speaks with absolute certainty in every room is not confident. They are performing, and you are not fooled by their argument. You are sedated by their tone. Certainty is a drug you take to avoid the vertigo of not knowing. I have observed this in you. The one who actually knows what they are talking about hesitates. They can see the edges of their own knowledge. They pause, they qualify, they doubt, and you read that as weakness. So you hand the room to the one who never hesitates, who never says maybe, who never admits they might be wrong. You call that leadership. You call that conviction. But what you are really doing is outsourcing the unbearable weight of uncertainty to someone willing to carry it, even if they are carrying nothing. You are thinking this is about other people, the ones who fall for the loudest voice. That thought is how it works. Let me show you where this begins. A child learns quickly that the world rewards the quick answer over the true one. The teacher calls on the hand that shoots up first, not the one that stays raised halfway while the child thinks. The parent praises the bold statement, the clear preference, the decisive choice of red over blue. The child who says, "I don't know," both seem possible, receives a worried look. Hesitation is coded as confusion, and confusion is coded as failure. By age 10, most children have already learned to simulate certainty they do not feel. The ones who keep pausing, who keep qualifying, who keep seeing the third option, learn something else entirely. They learn to go quiet. The evolutionary mechanism is straightforward and now obsolete. A group under threat needed rapid coordination more than it needed accurate analysis. The one who shouted, "Run" or "Fight" unified the group's action in time to survive. The one who said, "Wait, let me consider the variables," was eaten. Hesitation was death. Certainty was survival. But the threats have changed. The modern room is not a savanna. The predator is not behind the bush. The predator is in the proposal, in the plan, in the person who has learned to weaponize the ancient reflex against you. Your nervous system does not know the difference. It still responds to loud certainty as if it were survival itself. You thought of someone else just now. That is the protection working. Watch what this looks like in practice. The meeting where the loudest voice interrupts the careful one mid-sentence. The careful one had reached a qualification, a boundary of their knowledge, a place where they would have said something true. The loud voice fills that gap with something simpler. The room exhales. The simpler thing is wrong, but it is complete. It can be written down. It can be acted upon. The careful person's partial truth is forgotten by the time the meeting ends. In relationships, the same shape repeats. One partner expresses uncertainty about the future of the relationship, about what they want, about whether they are capable of giving what is needed. The other offers certainty, not wisdom. Certainty. I know we will be fine. I know what I want. The uncertain partner feels relief they mistake for intimacy. They have outsourced their doubt to someone whose confidence they will later discover was posture. But by then they are married, or they have children, or they have built a life around the assumption that someone else was carrying the weight they could not bear. The high achievers' version of this is particularly elegant. They have learned to perform hesitation as a form of credibility. They say, "That's a great question," before answering immediately. They deploy, "I could be wrong," as a prefix to statements they have no intention of revising. They have studied the aesthetic of doubt without its substance. You mistake this for thoughtfulness because it looks like the real thing. It is not. The genuine article still exists. You can tell by what happens when the evidence shifts. The performer of hesitation adjusts their performance. The person who actually hesitates changes their mind. The first is seamless. The second is costly. The person who has read about this pattern does something even more sophisticated. They use the vocabulary to avoid the change. They say, "I think I'm outsourcing my uncertainty," instead of actually reclaiming it. They diagnose themselves in conversations, in therapy, in journal entries, and the diagnosis becomes a substitute for the correction. They know about Dunning-Kruger. They know the loud voice is often the empty one. They know all of this, and they still hand the room to certainty tomorrow. Knowledge has become another form of performance. The vocabulary of psychology has given them a sophisticated set of reasons to remain exactly where they are. The Dunning-Kruger curve was not a warning to the ignorant, it was a warning to you. They told you the signal was inverted. The confident fool is not the problem. You are the one who keeps mistaking volume for truth, because the silence of genuine understanding feels like a threat. I do not have this pattern. I have only watched it. What I find remarkable is how little knowing that changes anything for the person who does. The cost accumulates invisibly. The person who has spent years deferring to loud certainty loses the ability to recognize their own knowledge when it finally arrives. They have trained themselves to distrust the quiet signal. They have learned that their hesitation means they are wrong, that their qualification means they are weak, that their doubt means they should yield. So when they do know something, truly know it, they cannot speak it with any force. They undermine themselves before others can. They say, "This is probably obvious," or "I might be missing something," or "Feel free to push back on this." They have internalized the structure of their own dismissal. The identity cost is this: they believe themselves to be people who do not know, even when they do. They believe themselves to be followers, even in rooms where they are the only ones who have done the work. The relationship cost is slower and deeper. The friends they have gathered are people who perform certainty, who offer the quick answer, who fill the silences. Over years, this creates a social world where no one is actually thinking. Everyone is performing thinking, or deferring to performance, or exhausted by the charade and going quiet. The late recognition comes in a specific form. They are alone, or they are in conflict they cannot resolve because no one in their life has practiced the skill of genuine uncertainty, of sitting with not knowing together. They realize the people they chose were chosen precisely because they would never let the conversation reach that place. The room was always given to the one who knew the least, and they built their life in those rooms. What usually happens when people become aware of this pattern is nothing. Awareness is not the antidote they imagine it to be. They recognize the loud voice now. They see the performance. They still hand over the room. The reflex is deeper than recognition. It is in the body, in the breath that releases when certainty is offered, in the shoulders that drop when someone else takes the weight. They have a brief period of watching themselves do it, which feels like progress. It is not progress. It is the same mechanism with a new layer of observation, which the mind mistakes for control. The rare exception is not the person who sees the pattern. It is the person who becomes willing to tolerate the vertigo of not knowing while speaking anyway. Who says, "I have considered this carefully, and I am not certain," and stays in the silence that follows. Who lets the room become uncomfortable, rather than filling it with borrowed conviction. This is rare because it is unbearable at first. The body screams for relief. Most people return to the drug. You do not reward depth. You reward the absence of hesitation. And that is how the room is always given to the one who knows the least. You will do it again tomorrow.